is pouring a tall bubbly of something.
Ah, there we go. My wife said we had to get Bud Light, so
Okay, there we go. This podcast or this show is not sponsored by Bud Light yet.
I wish it was. They got a lot of money.
There we go. Yeah, we are sponsored by nobody. You know who this is. This is the We Trying channel, a Nerdy by Nature production. That's Leroy and Michael.
Boom.
We do reviews and reactions and trailers and all that kind of stuff. We're reviewing tonight Extraction 2, the new hotness. I don't know, Leroy. You tell me. I mean, was it everything you wanted it to be?
It was everything I wanted to be and more. I liked the first one. I really thought the first one was really good. A lot of people slept on it. They thought it was just a regular Netflix film, which I think Netflix has a tendency to have a lot of good stuff mixed in with a lot of stuff that they license, that they make that is not very good. So it's hard to like find some of the gems that are on Netflix. But this is Chris Hemsworth's vehicle. Taylor Rake is his name. Or Tyler Rake, sorry. Tyler Rake is his name.
Get that man's name right, or he come after you.
Hey, man. Chris Hemsworth, come at me any day you want.
Okay.
That's a bad man. No, I was one of the people who was really hype about this film, Extraction 2. So when the trailer came out, we saw the teaser, then we saw the trailer, and I was like,
because when we did the reaction for the trailer before we started, I said, I don't care about this movie.
I know.
And you were like, you're going to eat your words.
Yep.
And then we saw the trailer. I was like, okay, trailer's pretty good.
And
I still don't care about this movie.
And you were like, I don't know if we just saw the best parts of the movie in the trailer. And you were like, can it be that good? And you were like, you don't remember the first one. And I was like, okay, I understand that. I disagree with that. But I really liked it. And so, what's your verdict? Do you agree that you were pleasantly surprised by this movie and enjoyed it?
I was pleasantly surprised by this movie. It had a lot of good action scenes. I just saw it when we recorded this. I saw it a day before. So now it's fresh in my mind.
Yeah.
I am curious once Extraction 3 comes out if I'm going to remember what was in Extraction 2. I don't know. Being fresh off the high of watching it, though, I really did like it a lot. I thought everybody came to play. I think there was a certain, I don't want to say a campiness to it, because there's a certain thing with something being campy and it can still be fun. This had like was it a 90s or 80s kind of action style to it? You know, just like an action star, but it was kind of brought into modern times. I'm trying to think of anything I really didn't like. Nothing coming to mind. I thought the scenes were great. I think the story was kind of whatever. I thought the story was passable, which is I wasn't looking for something incredibly deep or complex. I just needed to see Chris Hemsworth out here busting heads, and that's what he did. Turns out he had help busting heads, which was great. So yeah, I was on board.
So I've been a fan of this franchise. I know it's only a second film. It's a week after its release. I have been a fan of this franchise. I thought, and I feel like, and I've said this to you before, if this film had been released in theaters, I think people would look at it differently. But because it has the connotation of being a Netflix film, and Netflix puts out a lot of content, it does not get it doesn't meet the gravity of the situation for some people who are fans of the genre or who it stands out in their mind. And I say this because
you feel like people turn their nose down to something like this because it's on Netflix.
Oh yeah, and not just because it's on Netflix, but because it's a streaming movie. Now, if it had been, if this had been a Netflix movie 10 years ago, I think that the connotation would be different. I think if this had been released in theaters, I think the connotation would be different. I think this would be one of the number one movies of the year. I honestly believe that. And when it comes to action movies and franchises, because there's a small movie franchise that everybody loves that I would I would wager this is just as good. It stars everybody's favorite man, Keanu Reeves, in John Wick. I think Extraction is just as good as John Wick that deals with that combines that old 80s action hero vehicle with modern times. And I think if you think about what made John Wick a big deal, one, it was kind of a sleeper hit. A lot of people didn't expect it to show up and be like as good as it was. It was directed by a former stunt man, what are they called? Stunt people, stunt person,
Stunt coordinator.
stunt coordinator. It it was a vehicle for Keanu Reeves, who I don't want to say he hasn't had a hit, but he wasn't in the mainstream for a while. Um, he John Wick, that they introduced you to this world where this mysterious world where this man was out, his wife dies, his wife buys him a puppy, and he gets pulled back into this world. I think those are some elements that made John Wick franchise so enjoyable. I say that to say Extraction, I believe, is the same, has some of the same elements. It has a man dealing with grief, the death of his son. He could not be there. He couldn't do anything to stop his son dying, and he chose a different path. And he's dealing with the ramifications with that. Whereas John Wick in some of these movies looks like he's intentionally trying to die. I think Tyler Rake
Call
has,
that the Tom Cruise effect.
I think Tyler Rake in this movie, the character Chris Hemsworth plays, is doing the same thing. He's looking for a way to die in the battlefield, and he keeps finding things that keeps him going. He finds something to fight for. And I think if this movie, now the difference is, whereas Extraction was helmed as, oh, this vehicle for Chris Hemsworth, and everybody was kind of like, yeah, we kind of just like him as Thor. He's not good at anything else. Because remember, he did Men in Black. People really weren't feeling that. He was in the
Mhm.
Ghostbusters film. People weren't really feeling that.
I feel like people liked him in the Ghostbusters film. They didn't like the Ghostbusters film.
Problem is, it doesn't matter if you liked him in the Ghostbusters film. The message was, we don't like that Ghostbusters film, so we don't like anything about it. Because I I agree with you. He was great in that Ghostbusters film, but that film was so maligned, no one remembers he was in it. And then him and Men in Black International,
Hmm.
him and what's her
Tessa.
girl, Tessa Thompson was in that, and that was forgettable. So when Extraction came out, a lot of people were like, "We've seen this before. It ain't that very. It isn't that good." And then it was like, "No, it is," but it was on Netflix. So two comes out, and people were like you were like, I don't remember the first one. But then those people who were fans were like, no, trust us. This is going to be good. And I feel like we were vindicated. The problem is Netflix is so shady with their numbers. Who knows how good this did? Who knows how well it was received? They do release some metrics, but we don't know.
Hmm.
But I love this film. Um, I really, my only problem with it was once again them damn kids.
I mean, kids are kind of a blight on society. Is what sound like what you're saying.
And films, yeah. So, but I like I said, I really enjoyed this film. I really hope everybody gets a chance to see it. Now, don't get me wrong. If you're not a fan of violence, this is not the film for you because it has a lot of violence.
Well, it's interesting that you say that because it is a violent film. It is rated R, but the way they shoot it is not as intense to say something like,
Into the Night.
is that the one that I couldn't
Yep.
watch? Yeah,
Mhm.
something like that. Like that is just, that got me. And I thought this one isn't as
No, not
graphically
Into the
intense
Night.
as that.
Uh,
Something about blood or something.
no, is it The Night Comes for Us? Hold on. I'm trying to remember what it was. Yes, The Night Comes for Us. That's what it is.
Yeah, that was
Yeah.
it. Um,
Yeah, you
All
were
right,
not a fan of that. You were not a fan of that one.
and it was really, again, the choreography was awesome, but I just couldn't get over how much blood there was everywhere.
There was a lot of blood.
And
It
maybe I need
was
to start watching it again. I don't know. Maybe I was just in the wrong headspace for it. I don't know.
possible.
Um, but yeah. So what would you rate this?
Oh, a 5 out of 5. Um, Miniguns.
Okay. Um,
This is a 5 out of 5 for me, sir.
I'd give this 3.5 out of 5 training sessions,
Okay.
training montages. Yeah.
Okay. Um,
Any other non-spoiler stuff you want to get to it?
this is what I will say for those people who are, and again, I understand this is for me. I like action movies. I've been I on this channel. I've said I've enjoyed the Expendables. I know that they're not Oscar-winning films, but I've enjoyed the Expendables. I enjoy watching good choreography, good fight choreography, and I enjoy watching these dudes just wreck shop. And I think Extraction, when as all is said and done, I think Extraction is going to be one of these franchises you're going to be like, oh yeah, that was a really good. Everybody's going to have their favorite, but I think this is a good. I think this is the beginning of a great franchise, action franchise for uh, going forward. You know, if you want to get your John Wick fix, Extraction is the movie for you. Extraction 1 and 2.
And 3 soon, whenever that comes out.
Whenever they get around to it after
Yeah.
this writer's strike.
Yeah, that's true.
Hmm.
Although with the movie like this, I feel like you don't really got to write it. You just do some fight scenes over
Say
here.
hey,
Sir, this
Don't
ain't
do
this ain't winning no Oscars for best screenplay. Okay.
I didn't say it was. I'm just
Okay.
saying the writers were very important.
I won't disagree with that. All right, here we go. Spoiler territory. Oh, I guess non-spoiler. Like, comment, subscribe. Find us. We trying YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, Instagram, Facebook,
Hmm.
all those places.
Yep.
Now let's get into spoilers. Here we go.
Yep.
Where you want to go talk about your movie?
Whew. I love how the movie. So we start with the beginning. My man was dead. My man Tyler was dead.
Was he dead?
He
So
was
hey,
dead.
when was the last time you saw the first one? Recently?
Yeah.
Wasn't he alive at the end of that? Because
He
wasn't he seeing the boy in the lake when the boy doing the thing in the pool
you
and he looked
saw
up and he was there?
you did see him there. The thing is, I love that this part fills in how did you survive that? Like what happened? What was and I enjoyed that.
See, that ain't
So
work for me.
really,
Because the whole tension of like, I already know you alive. Like I don't I already know you alive. I saw the first one.
here's the thing. I think for a lot of people like you,
That was the
I
one thing I remembered about the movie is that he was alive.
here's the thing. I think for a lot of people like you, I think this is a good explainer for where we are. And I think for you, you're like, I don't remember this film. I don't, but that's why I said it's good because you knew he was alive, but this gets you to that point that lets you know, okay, yeah, he was alive, but how did he survive that? And I think that was a good sequence of showing us, okay, you were dead, they fished you out of the water, you you were basically retired. And Nick and her brother, played by Goltashif Ferrari, Farahani.
You
Farahani.
tried.
Yeah, I did. I'm sorry. And Adam Bessa, Yaz, and Nick Khan. I think they were a great duo. I loved them as brother and sister. I loved how he was like, I'm going to get you a shirt just like that. And he was like, and he followed through with it and got him the shirt. I
Mhm.
loved their relationship. I thought that was the whole idea of him surviving was because I think like at the end of the first film, that moment was kind of like, oh yeah, they're going to do a sequel. Like he's still alive, so they left the door open for a sequel. But you get the sense of in this movie, the fact that he's alive wasn't something he planned. Like it wasn't like he went into this like I'm gonna survive this shit. He kind of was like, that's why I said it worked because he kind of seemed like, hey man, you should have let me die.
Mhm.
Like, what kind of life am I going to have?
Mhm.
And I think the whole, like you said, the whole training montage when, spoiler alert, Idris Elba shows up. Did anybody know Idris with his sexy goodness was going to show up with
Did not know.
that nice sweater, drinking my man Stella? Like, I was like, Idris is just bold, just coming up in people's houses. I mean, he ain't gonna do that in America. We got stand your ground laws. But yeah, I enjoyed that sequence of events, and you get the sense of what's going to bring him back into the field, and then you realize, oh, your niece and nephew, that will get you back into the field, and then we see him do the whole. Remember what movie was it where my man had a cast on? Good,
And he broke it
Fast and
with
Furious.
flexing
Remember
with the
Fast
rock.
and remember? Yep, remember
Yeah.
Fast
Do
and
I
Furious.
remember? Come
He
on now.
took the cast off, and Tyler was like,
What he
um,
said is, "Daddy's got to go to work." Then he broke the cast. Oh, I remember Fast and Furious.
and Tyler had his moment. He got the dog sled. He was pushing. He was cutting wood. Oh yeah,
Hmm. Hmm.
I was all in it. I'm here for it. So yeah,
So I'm gonna chew that up without y'all hearing all that crunching. For me, we talked about it for a second, but the two people, the
brother and sister,
the brother and sister.
Nick and Yaz Khan, who basically, I guess, run the company.
Yeah, they don't really explain. I guess they don't really have to. Is I don't really know. I just know Nick is a badass, but I don't really know the inner workings of how she works.
She has everything: beauty, brains, and she has a mean stab up. Oh,
Yeah,
she was my favorite character in this
because
movie.
she did a little bit in the first movie.
She did.
She helped a little bit,
Mhm.
and I don't know if the actress herself said, "Hey, I want to do more," or somebody realized that she needed to do more. But it was a right call
Hey,
because she was awesome.
go to our Facebook page. There's an article from Tadum that interviews the lady who plays Nick Khan, Go to Chef Farahani. That's how I'm gonna say it from now on. Go to Chef Farahani until I find out otherwise. Where she talks about like she's not a love interest. She has her own agency in the sense of she is important to Tyler, but she's not a damsel in distress,
Not
and
at all.
she holds her own, sometimes even better
Hmm.
than Rake does. And I
Yeah.
thought that would. So check out our Facebook page. Um, you're right. She is it to me it seemed like her and her brother, she was running the company, her brother's logistics, and Tyler's the muscle who
Hmm.
just goes out and for some reason just keeps coming back from these missions alive and intact
Yeah,
where
sure,
nothing goes right. Because basically in the last two times we've seen them on missions, nothing has gone the way it's been planned.
sure. Um, I think what I really liked about this movie is, as crazy as it is, and I don't want to use the word, but I'll use it. There's still a sense of grounding or realism
Mhm.
in the fights. As much as we love the Marvel movies and DC movies and superhero movies, it's refreshing to just be like, oh, it's just two people fist fighting. Now
Yep.
you might have a chain gun or something and shooting helicopters,
Son.
but you still, for the most part, you're just fist fighting. You're doing some crazy fist fights, but you're fist fighting. And I think that's awesome.
So we start with Tyler enjoying retirement. I love when he was like, "Did you get my chickens?" He was like,
And he was hanging out with them chickens.
he was serious about them chickens.
Yeah, that was
Um,
good.
I so I, it was interesting where he was like, where Nick was like, "Your whole life fits in this box," and it was again what was going to get him back into the fight. What was going to get him? This man died. He was dead for. Did she say 9 minutes?
I don't remember.
It was, and he was like, and she was like, "You got to find something to live for," and he found it. And we go from him, having this '80s, training montage to kicking ass and taking names, and we saw a little bit, we saw a snippet a sliver of in the trailer and in the teaser that prison fight, and we
Mhm.
had no idea the magnum opus that was that one shot that just
I would love it if Netflix would do more behind the scenes stuff and like maybe they would show us, hey, show us how you shot this. Cause like
yeah.
clearly you can see where they cheated to make it look like a one shot.
You could, but here's the thing.
But the thing is, it
It
was so
worked.
smooth you didn't care.
It
You're
worked.
just like, man, because I'm watching and like, oh, it's one shot. It's
Hmm.
still going.
Yep.
Oh, this it's still going.
Yep.
Like,
Yep.
dang. And at one point, I was like, are they going to make this whole movie almost like,
A one shot
well,
hardcore Harry.
kind of, but no.
Hardcore Henry.
What
Henry.
was the
That was the first one.
Birdman?
Oh, see,
That was like a one shot thing too. That was
I
like a
was
whole,
thinking of Charlton Copley, the hardcore Henry
yeah,
first person FPS video game type movie. But yeah,
yeah.
but Birdman was
But that was
I didn't
just,
even think of that.
yeah, it was just really cool to see that. And I just want, as somebody who kind of nerds out about the behind the scenes stuff, I would just love to see the timing of all that stuff. It's like, okay, you got to stand over here off camera. Now you rush up and do your thing. It was just very, very well done.
Now here's the thing, and this is why I said again, I feel like Extraction 2 should get more uh it should get a little bit more love because here's the thing. Sam Hargrave is the director. He directed the first one.
Hmm.
Guess what Sam Hargrave used to be?
He was the stunt guy for the
Yep.
Russos. Yeah.
Yep. And so like I understand a lot of people love John Wick and again a lot of people are going, look, what I'm telling you is a lot of these people who are behind the scenes who do this work understand what makes a good fight scene, who understands what makes a good action scene. Because guess what? He was a stunt coordinator, fight coordinator in your movie that you love, that you have talked me into fucking watching. Wolf Warrior 2.
Oh, that's not even the best Wolf Warrior, but all right.
I know, but that was the one you were like, you have got to see this.
It's some wild
So,
shit.
so I say that to say, not that if anybody could pull it off, we should be investing in these people because we saw what Chad Stileski can do with the John Wick franchise. The fact that Keanu Reeves trusted this man because he was a stunt. This was the team from The Matrix, and we saw what they can do. And then the Russos were like, "Okay, we've seen what Sam can do. Let's give him a camera. Let's put an action star in front of him, a capable actor who can carry out this stuff, and let's give him a camera and let's show what he can do." Because when they went from the car, when they went from the prison, and then he saved the kids, and you see him in the prison yard, you're like, how in the like we know he's going to get out of it, but in your mind you're thinking,
Like, how does it work?
thank
It's
you.
like a Rube Goldberg thing. You're like, okay, how does this go to this to this to
Mhm.
this to make it happen? Yeah.
And then you see them get in the car, and you're like, okay, we've seen car chases before. My man shot at people on motorcycles where the motorcycle exploded and the man flew off and hit a tree. Like,
Hmm.
and just the way they went from that to running through the stock, the plant
I
to
feel
get to
so
the
bad for
film.
those plant workers because they just came to work to just work.
Imagine that. Imagine you get up, you have a hard day, you're working, and some people run through with some small children.
Hmm.
Some people are shooting at them, and then they run through the train yard, and then you see helicopters. You're like, what in the
Yeah.
fudge is
Yeah.
going
What is
on?
happening? Yeah.
And all you hear is explosions. You hear different languages. You hear people yelling at each other, and you
Hmm.
see this beautiful Indian woman just run by you quickly, and her brother, and you're just like, no one's gonna believe this. Like honestly, no one is gonna believe. Like unless
She's
it's on the
Iranian, by
news.
the way.
She is okay. My
Yes.
bad. Hey,
But you were right on the beautiful part. She is a very
oh,
beautiful lady.
whew. Every, son, every time she was on screen, when she was wearing them clothes, I was like, why was she not in Westworld? She
Maybe she could have been in that new season. That
oh,
never happened.
Warner Brothers, Get your shit together.
Hey,
Um,
but I did just read that Harley Quinn season 4 starts July 27th, so that's cool.
yeah. Still, it's not what I want. But
Okay.
but so they get to the train, and you're like, we've seen this, and then you're like, oh no, you haven't
You
seen it.
haven't seen this.
Oh my gosh, I was in awe of this film, and it was almost like they had to stop after the train. They had to like calm down. They was like, okay,
Mhm.
we gave you all that. We got to bring this down a little bit. We got to calm this down. And then we get to was it Brussels? Did they go to Brussels? I'm trying to remember where they
I
went.
can't remember.
We're basically, and this is the thing, and this is why I say this was writing. Now, don't get me wrong, the actors delivered the lines, but this was writing because I think when Chris Hemsworth's character deals with his nephew, who is kind of a tool,
Mhm.
he doesn't go over the top. He's not mad at him. He's trying to reach this kid who just lost his father, was living in a prison. He didn't get mad at him. He's like, hey man, you're right. I left. I think that's writers. And I think that's when you have to have some type of emotional connection to make you care about these characters. Because did you get like I got mad at that boy. Like I was like, you may be too old to get whippings, but somebody should have hit you.
Um, I was more, and I'm not mad, just disappointed.
This oh
It was, I was just like, yeah,
you were disappointed, Dad.
because I was, yeah, just like, yeah, I just, there we go. You're gonna do what you're gonna do. You're gonna call the dude, even though clearly you saw in that one scene that your dude was about to beat the shit out of your mama,
Yeah.
but you're gonna stand up and like, all
Hmm.
right, dude. It would be one thing if he did all that stuff and you never saw it.
Yeah.
So then you could be like, oh, he would never do anything like that. But I mean,
Hmm.
you saw what he was
You
about
were
to
in the
do. So
room, yeah.
yeah.
And so, and I think that's the Chris Hemsworth's character, Tyler, who was like almost as if he was trying to make amends, but also understanding you had a bad father too. I was a bad dad. You had a bad dad. It's up to you to make your life better in spite of who your parents are.
Mhm.
And he tried. It ain't work. But it was just, and then we get that build up where these dudes were like, and again we saw I'm trying to remember what his name is, but we saw old boy from John Wick 1, Daniel Bernhardt, who plays Constantine. Remember, he was the guy from John Wick 1 who fought him in the nightclub, uh, who was the good looking guy, black hair. Remember, he pushed John Wick off the second story when John Wick tried to kill Reek.
Okay.
So we saw him as Constantine in this one. He died unceremoniously too
Yeah.
at the airfield. Um, but yeah, like I was really expecting like some like cool fight scene. My man just got taken out like an NPC in a fucking video game. But yeah, I really, Michael, while he was fighting other people, Chris Hemsworth kicked the um the leg machine and
And so
smashed.
this, God, I saw that and I said Jesus out loud. I was like, Jesus. Like I know it's fake, but like no, that stunt person died that day. I was like,
Someone,
that is crazy.
you are right. When you said the behind the scenes, I want to know the behind the scenes of that. Like not how you shot a helicopter with a minigun. I want to know how you came up with that shit
Yeah,
because that was just so disrespectful. I'm gonna
yeah,
tell you right now, that's not an open casket.
no,
How do you tell that man's family?
yeah. You got crushed by a leg machine that clearly he was using the wrong way. I mean,
It just
golly.
like that whole sequence was just amazing, and shout out to the guys and the girls who put this together because even though I knew Yaz was going to die, played by Adam Bessa, he did not go quietly. He
No,
he gave his all.
He did. Yeah.
And he from when him and his sister were up there, and she was like, go get the boy. Then they went downstairs. He was taking them on. Then he went in the hallways. He was in the stairwell. I was like, man, Yaz. I thought Yaz was gonna make it. Like I knew he wasn't gonna make it because he had to die.
Hmm.
But yet, Yaz was killing the game, man. He was doing his best. And I was like, yo, you may wear these terrible shirts, but man, you were kicking ass and taking names.
Yeah. Anything you didn't like about the movie? You gave it a 5 out of 5.
That
It was glowing
goddamn
for you.
boy, that goddamn man, let me tell you right now, I ain't been a father long, but I hope upon hope my children are not douchebags like that. Like I'm hoping they make better decisions.
So, is it a thing that we're not writers? We're not professional writers in
No,
that sense,
we don't even claim to be.
right? Is there another way you would have had to? Because you essentially need that to happen in order for the
No,
bad guys to find them.
no. And here's the thing: even though I didn't like the character and I understood his motivations, I
Mhm.
think that they had to do that, and I think they did a good job of doing that,
Well,
of like showing you he's trying to be this. Because you got to remember that's that critical age he was at, like that middle school. He's out. He's not in elementary school. He's not at high school yet. He's
mhm.
still trying to figure himself out. Um, and then on top of that, your dad is an international criminal who threw a DEA agent off a building. Your other uncle is running a criminal operation. You know, your great uncle is kind of the moral center who got capped at the
Oh man, I
airfield,
felt
like
bad for him.
because he's like, yeah, we're criminals, but man, there's a limit of what we should do.
Yeah.
Even he was like, hey man, this is too far. When he said, and where's your father now? I knew he was like, bro.
Hmm.
I
Yeah.
mean, you got your point across, but
Yeah.
no, I really enjoyed it. I think they did a very good job of building of making these characters. Whether it was Nick Khan and her dealing with the grief of her brother, telling Tyler, "Why didn't you tell me? You couldn't trust me," and their relationship I thought was really good to the point where Tyler was like, at the end of the movie, he was like, "Hey man, I'm not going anywhere with Nick without Nick."
Without Nick. Yeah.
And then Nick and Idris Elba was like,
Uh-huh. Yeah.
like a fucking genie from Aladdin, and was like, "Anything else you want?"
Yeah. So to wrap up, any final thoughts, passing parting thoughts?
Um, I don't know, man. Like I will say this: I would like to know the budget behind this because we talked about this when we watched Craven trailer, when we talked about Morbius, Sony's films, some of the Fast films. I'm not gonna say this is on par with the Fast and Furious because Fast and Furious has a lot of moving parts. Uh, the Sony films, and I've said this, and I don't know, maybe I didn't say it enough. Sony can make as many terrible Marvel Spider-Man movies as long as they keep cranking out Spider-Verse movies the way they have.
Hmm.
I and I like Morbius, and Morbius is not a good film. Venom, but you know what? You can make the Rhino, the Vulture, Morbius, Craven, um, make whatever the hell you want, as long as that Beyond the Spider Verse is on par with those other two films. But
Yeah.
I say that to say this film was better than all of those Sony films combined. And I will say this film was definitely, I had more fun watching this film than I did the last Fast movie.
Interesting. I don't know
It,
if I would go that far, but I can see that
I would definitely, now I will
because the
say,
one thing this did not have was Jason Momoa
now
being
here's the
awesome.
thing. The only part of the Fast movie that I liked of this last one was when Jason Momoa showed up.
Hmm.
Like everything else was, I just was like, Dom Toretto was like just grunting throughout the whole thing, and the rest of the movie didn't make sense. But
Yeah.
Jason Momoa saved the film because take out Jason Momoa out of that movie, and you're like, this is terrible.
Mm.
But with Extraction 2, you're like, it had the highs and the lows. Like you really moved with this film, and it really was a roller coaster. So I say that to say I'd be interested to see if some of the people from this film, will we see them in other Sam Hargraves? Will we see Golda Chef Farahani? Will we see Adam Bessa? Or, will we see them being poached by other people to put them in their films? Because I think this movie was a very good film. I haven't seen everything Netflix put out, but I mean the action sequences where like right now I have the trailer up. When you go back and watch, Chris Hemsworth threw a dude onto a goddamn treadmill to where he broke his neck, and then the camera followed him where he went to the second floor.
Yeah.
Golda Sh- uh, Golshefta
Just call her by her character name.
Nick, do you remember that part where she like did that scissoring thing where she caught a dude, stood over him, shot, and then killed that dude and just kept firing? Like the action sequences were
Mhm.
amazing. They were top notch.
Mhm.
The only film that comes close is John Wick 4 when it comes to the action sequences. So I'm really high on this film. I really want everybody to see it. I want everybody to get their flowers from this film, and I really wish there was a way for Netflix to wash the stink off of them for making so much stuff that people don't like. Because I'm gonna tell you right now, I'll put this up against Heart of Stone any day of the week. Like seeing this, and I'm like, oh, Heart of Stone can't top this. And if it does, mark my words. I'll eat my words, but I think this might be one of Netflix's best films of the year.
Okay. There we go. He said it's might be one of the best Netflix films of the year. Let us know in the comments if you agree or if you disagree. Either way, Leroy will respond because he loves to talk with y'all folks. I
I
don't
do.
because I can't handle it. You know where to find us: YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, Twitch, Instagram. We trying and retrying y'all. It's all scrolling down here in the bottom third of the screen. Like, comment, subscribe. Know we put up more videos and all that stuff. Until then, I think we're out. Peace.
Peace.